All right, guys, if you want to start a business with zero money down and you want to use a business model that has the potential to print massive amounts of money and completely change your life, this is a business model that I have used over the last 10 years. It's a service-based business, and I've had success both with the fitness industry, both with an in-person gym, which is a different model altogether. But if you're new to this channel completely, which I assume most of you watching this probably are, we've literally got like 28 subscribers at this point. So very early days of this channel, but I want to provide you as much value as possible so you can take this away and implement it straight away for your either existing service business, if you're a coach, consultant, agency owner, whatever it is, or if you're thinking about starting something with zero money, and this is going to be the model that I would 100% recommend. So this is part of a series where I'm walking you through step by step in every video, teaching you all the lessons I've learned and the pains I've been through, the amount of money I've wasted that I wish I didn't. But it's taught me all these lessons so I can share them with you today to hopefully save you the decade of pain, not to exaggerate, of what I went through when scaling PB Academy to over 250 active clients. We built a coaching team to deliver the service. We built a sales team to handle the influx. And yeah, we've done pretty well. So I'm going to walk you through it first of all. So starting a business with zero, this is what it's all about. The way we're going to do this is by teaching you the skills of how you can actually get better results with the clients you decide to take on for whatever service you're offering. But I'm specifically going to talk about my journey as a fitness coach, the retention, how we actually increased client retention, which also led to better results. As a result, LTV went up through the roof. LTV, lifetime value, if you don't understand that term, don't worry about it. We're going to break everything down. So lifetime value is basically the amount of months that a client stays with you, the amount of revenue you get from that one individual client on average. So very simple, the amount of money you get per customer overall over the lifetime, and how to eventually increase prices as well. So yeah, I'm just going to run through it. I'm going to take my time with it. I'm going to try and do it as quickly as possible, hopefully 15 minutes max. But I do sometimes ramble. So I'll get straight into the story. So the way I learned this, I didn't know what I was doing, right? When I first started, just like you, I started at 16, and I started off selling the traditional things that everyone sold at the time. So it was about 2016, 2017 at the time. Fitness industry completely new in terms of the online stuff. Fitness influencers selling PDFs, training plans, stuff like that, and they were selling results. They were advertising results before and after transformations, but the service they were actually selling was like a low ticket ebook that would give them a training plan, nutrition plan, something like that. It lacked so many things. It didn't have the accountability. It didn't have the community, nothing like that, right? But people bought it. It was cheap. It was worth what they paid for it, maybe 30 quid. That's the value of what it was, because it missed out so much more on what the person actually needed, the problems they were actually, suffering with. The other thing as well is coaching did exist in a different format. One-to-one personal training has been around for 4 decades now. It's actually been around for decades. And that was the flip side of that, where you didn't actually get a training plan, you didn't get a nutrition plan. So, other parts of the problems as to why people were actually joining up for one-to-one PT was because they wanted to transform their body, right? But they weren't getting the nutrition plan. All they were getting was a PT in person, basically a glorified rep counter, a motivational speaker by their side, pushing them through the session, keeping them accountable. But no one was keeping them accountable for the other 23 hours of that day or the rest of the week. So those were 2 big problems in the industry. Then online coaching, booming, right? Absolutely booming. It starts to boom from that point on. I started it when it was email coaching. There was literally no software out there to help with this or make it seem professional, no apps. Very new to the game, very early to the game. I transitioned towards that, and I never looked back since. It was a slow burn. It took me 7 years to really crack the code on every part of the business, to actually scale it, and eventually we created so much demand I had to bring in a coaching team, and then eventually we had to handle it with a sales team as well, so we could handle all the people coming in, customer support and service and customer success, handling the people inside our academy, and yeah, it was just a crazy journey. Anyway, what I want to teach you with this video is simply how to analyze the service that you are thinking of offering, to audit your service, and to actually make sure you provide the best service that actually solves all of the problems your dream client is facing right now. Okay? So the way I want you to think of this is, we've already talked about this before in another video. We've talked about the deep problem. Okay? So I'm going to write that down again. We're just going to go through it quickly. So the deep problem, I'm terrible with whiteboard, but I like using it. It makes me look cool. So deep, right? So what does this actually mean? So you define the surface level problems your client faces. So then we have the emotion. So the actual feeling that they've got right now at this stage with the problems they're facing, the effects, and then we've got the pains. Okay, so just to I've done a video fully on the deep framework, but just to remind you, if you don't know, this is your first video you've seen, you're defining surface level problems that they're facing. I'm just going to talk about fitness coaches now. So I was seeing with my clients that they would say, I need a training plan, I need a nutrition plan, because they don't. So the problems are surface level. They don't know what nutrition is right for them. They don't know what the training is right for them. They have no idea with that stuff. That's surface level stuff. Now, what were they actually feeling at that point there? In their body, they wanted to transform their body deeper down, but they wouldn't say that. They'd say, I need a training plan, I need a one-to-one PT, I need accountability, basically, is the deeper level that they're saying there. So emotionally, they struggle with motivation, they struggle with consistency, so that's not an emotion, but emotionally, they basically feel like they can't commit to something. They feel guilty of not sticking to the plan. They basically feel frustrated with how they look, they feel low on confidence, they feel defeated, they feel like a failure. So all of those things they're feeling right now, right? That's at that stage there. The effects of that feeling is they are not consistent. They don't follow the plan. They don't get the results they want. They continue to wear clothes that hide the body they've got because they're not proud of it. They don't want to go on holidays. They don't want to go outside into the real world. They hate walking into rooms. They just don't feel great. And that's the effects of those problems that they're actually facing. And then the pain is then when you frame it as a thought experiment of how would this, if this continued to happen, how would it affect you forever? What would be the real pains you'd feel? Then you'd go through life, you would not be successful, you would be someone that doesn't commit to what they say they're going to do, they don't achieve anything successful, their career doesn't progress, they don't feel confident with their partner, they don't want to get naked in front of their partner. Like, these are the real pains that is going to lead them to making an actual change in their life, right? Depends on the person, depends on the dream client you've got. You've got to bring this back to your specific client that you're dealing with, okay? Now, this is to figure out the problems. Now, what I'm going to talk to you about now, without you being biased about your service. So let's say you offer coaching. So I offered coaching. I looked at my online coaching. I looked at everything that we offered. And we won't talk about this today, but people would openly advertise their service offerings. That's the way they thought they would get clients. The best thing to do is shout out that I offer training plans, I offer nutrition plans, I offer 24/7 WhatsApp support because I'm a robot and I'm going to message you at 2 a.m. when you message me. Like, that doesn't even happen anyway. So you're already setting false expectations with that. But they would offer the service offerings, okay? Now, if you really analyze that and you list out all of the problems your client faces, does your service actually solve every single one of the problems? Because even though traditional online coaching, and you may think, oh, you're stuck in a box, this is what online coaching is, I can't venture outside of this. I didn't look at it that way. When I did this, and I didn't know the framework at the time, like, this is what I've learned years later, like 10 years on from when I started. At the time, I just thought, how can I make my service better? How can I get better results for people? I looked at the people that weren't getting results. I looked at the people that I was working with that would drop off after a month or two. Like, what was going on with those people as to why they wouldn't continue? And for me, I basically listed out on a spreadsheet, because I love a spreadsheet, and it's probably the past accountant in me that's still a bit nerdy with spreadsheets. I still do it to today. Everything's on a spreadsheet. If you're not like that, it's fine. But I basically used a traffic light system, and I was like, right, I'm going to mark my services green, amber, and red as to whether they actually solve the problem. Green, if it 100% solves the problem. For example, they have no idea what they're doing with training. Yes, a customized training plan for that individual around their work and their life and everything like that. That's bang on. That 100% solves the problem. Same with nutrition, 100% solves the problem they've got there. Accountability. Does it really solve the problem? One check-in per week, maybe a message now and again, depending on the person you've got. Does that really solve the problem? I really thought of it in a way of, if I had all the money and the time in the world to offer this person, this one person that I'm working with, the best experience to actually solve the problem, I came to the conclusion that I would have to be there with them 24/7, like a one-to-one PT, but living with them. that would be the best way I'd get the results. I would sit with them, I would cook all their meals, I would do the food shop for them. And I know this is sounding absurd, right? And don't worry, this is not what you're going to need to do. But realistically, that's creating a far more valuable person. Imagine a really rich person. This is why celebrities do literally pay for this. They pay for a chef. They pay for someone to literally train them every single day. They pay for someone to stop them making bad decisions when it comes to food, when they're hungry, stuff like that. They go above and beyond. So services like that do exist out there. And if you want to go for extremely high ticket, high value clients and deliver an unbelievable service, by all means, go and do it, because it will pay a hell of a lot more. But you've got to be realistic with, right, okay, maybe I'm not solving these problems in the best way possible. Now let's work back to something that's actually realistic. What can I actually do for these people? And for me, the biggest gap that I was seeing as to why people were dropping off was motivation. It was the accountability wasn't really there as much as it could be. And what I did, my solution was that I thought, what can I actually commit to that could potentially solve this problem? I didn't know if it would work, but I wanted to try it. And that's the whole point of being an entrepreneur. I don't like the word because everyone's just branding themselves as an entrepreneur these days. I don't think of myself like that. I just like to build things and see what I can do. Now, with this, it was a clear problem I needed to solve. So I enjoyed it. And what I went on and did is I started doing weekly Zoom meetings as a group with my clients, because I noticed I was working, let's say I had 15 clients at the time. I was working one-to-one with all of them. None of them knew each other. None of them communicated. I just imagined if they were all in a gym together, I can 100% believe they were going to get way more results. They were going to support each other, just probably from my team background, playing in a rugby and football team. When you're together, you hold each other accountable. You don't want to let the team down, but also you encourage each other. You push each other. You may give advice to each other as well as a player. It doesn't mean the coaches aren't always the ones helping each other. It's actually the team and the players themselves. And that happened way better than I expected. I launched Team Talks, probably, being born from the sports background. And every week, every Wednesday, 7 p.m, I'd draw up a neat presentation as well for the first part, the first 15 minutes, so they actually got value. There was a reason for them to join. I taught them something in a little bit more depth on something they were struggling with, whether it was how to handle weekends, how to handle Christmas, how to handle holidays, how to not lose progress while you go away and still enjoy and have a good time. We built out all these processes through the Team Talks. You can see them all on YouTube on the other channel. And what this did was, subconsciously, I knew what I was doing. I wanted to bring everyone together. That's all I wanted to do from this. It wasn't about teaching them. It was about bringing them all together. They started to ask questions at the end, so Q&As opened up collaboration, and we started to talk together. And where this went way above my expectations of what I thought would happen from this is we then had this WhatsApp group with everyone in, and everyone started talking to each other. It was dead before this, right? They were all in the group. Everyone's still in the same group. Same people in the same group. No one talking. Now they've all met each other. They've heard each other speak up. Some people are more confident than others. Some people are silent on the Team Talks, on the Zoom meetings. But afterwards, they would start sharing videos of themselves training, a top set, something they were proud of. I would then put in before and after transformations, some progress updates, not the finished results, just encouraging people. And people would chip in, like saying, yes, come on, keep going, just words of encouragement. And then I wouldn't have to do anything more, because as the coach, like imagining the rugby team, I would step back out of it and I would leave them sort of work with each other and just become a team, because that's exactly what it was. And that's the way it transitioned from me doing online coaching to launching PB Academy. Same service, a little bit of a tweak, but it just changed what we were offering completely, right? And this is one of the big changes I made that ended up in us, is the momentum building to climbing the ladder in terms of the business growing and scaling into what it then became, which was a monster. And we took over the area. We completely dominated the area. We grew to 250 active clients, which is unheard of. I honestly don't know anyone else that's done that from the following we had, because we've done it through just getting great results, having a great service, but the promotions, everything, which we'll get to later down the line. And obviously the referrals through word of mouth from people just having an insane service compared to what they would be offered elsewhere. It was just completely different. So that was born from me going through the deep framework, really identifying all of the problems this dream client of mine faced, and then making sure my service actually delivered on solving every single one of those problems. It may not be perfectly, for example, me living with them, cooking their meals, everything like that, but I just worked it back from the extreme to what was realistic for me to actually do to help these people and at least try to solve every one of the problems. And it did completely transform the service. The results went through the roof. Retention went through the roof because now they were in a community. We were building a community. People didn't want to just leave. It wasn't just me that they had to message to leave. They didn't want to leave the academy. They didn't want to leave the team. So they wanted to stay longer. They got better results. LTV went through the roof from a business perspective. That's gold dust. And eventually our prices went up as well because we were getting to max capacity. I put the prices up, I had nothing to lose, and people still started coming on board, and all of a sudden we started farming through, and all of a sudden our prices overall, our average price was getting higher and higher and higher. So just so you know, the reality of where we got to, we were at 250 active clients. Even though my program price at that point was then $199 a month, on average, because of, we had clients for years, stay with us for years, and I always honored the older pricing, we had an average of £165 per month. So it ended up about 30 to 40k per month. That's what we were averaging for a long time. On average, realistically, over a long period, it was about 30k a month. So I'm speaking about this from experience, and that's the story I wanted to tell you so that you can go and audit your service and look at it and don't just say, right, is this what everyone else is doing? Then that's fine, that's good enough. How are you going to stand out? And just to let you know as well, most people in business don't make money. Most businesses fail in the first 5 years. The majority of businesses actually fail within the first year, and they're definitely not profitable within the first 5 years. This is a different business. It's a service-based business, so it is going to print money. There's not many costs associated with it, especially if you're delivering most of the service and you haven't got any staff costs. It's an insane, highly profitable business model that you can literally use to print money. But the lesson here today that I want to teach you is go and think outside the box. Look at the problems, really analyze the problems with a deep framework that your client has got, and then think about, what can I do to make sure my service does deliver on every one of the problems my client faces? Even if it means you have to draw up, like this, a video for specific topics that they do face, that you're not going to be able to solve with one-to-one coaching. So at least you've got like a course that you can send them to at the start that solves all their problems. We had that as well with an onboarding process that would basically get them up to scratch. They had to finish the course in the first weekend of when they joined, so they were fully up to scratch on everything we did, how it worked, and all of the common FAQs, the frequently asked questions, were answered. So loads of little things like that will help you make your service stand out from the rest. And this is stuff behind the scenes that people will not see. Because when you're advertising, you're not going to be shouting out about the fact that we host a weekly live team talk. Like, I would never do that. I would never advertise that. Yes, I'd post out my story every week to make sure people knew we were doing a lot more. But that wasn't the selling point for people. They still wanted results. You still had to sell results. But this is how we got results, because we created community. We got people to stay a lot longer. They stayed. Our LTV went through the roof. The results got better from it. They were more motivated. And yeah, it was a game changer for us. So again, not to drum it home, but make sure you go and analyze your service completely. What can I do to solve every single problem for my client that they've got? Understand your target audience inside out, so you know what problems they've got. And if you want to understand the target audience a little bit more, we've got a framework for that to help you do it. A Google Sheet as well. You know, I love Google Sheets. And you can go through it and identify it for your target audience, your dream client, and hopefully attract a lot more of them and they stay longer. So yeah, I hope this helps. If you don't know us, this is Work-Life Unbalanced. It's all about relating to you and me just sharing my stories of what we did to scale our business. And I'm also on a journey to scale a new business, which is Social Proof. It's a software designed to convert more views into clients online, giving you a one link page that does convert a lot higher. So if you want to check that out, it's Social Proof. The link will be below. Make sure you subscribe. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.